are ready to call the June 17th, 2020 Fitchburg Public Library Board to order, our first virtual meeting over Zoom. So I'll call this meeting to order, and we'll start with, let's see, agenda item number 2, public appearances or any non-agenda items. And I believe we have no public appearances in the room or online.
Correct. I did not get any emails either. That was the other option for people.
Okay. Then we can move right along to item number 3, approval of the minutes. We will need a motion here.
I will motion to approve the, I think it was the February minutes.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the February 19th minutes. Any further discussion on the minutes? Okay, and we will then move to a vote on the motion. I'm assuming even in this virtual world, we're just going to do the voice
Yes.
voice vote. Jenny, let us know at any point if you're not able to kind of keep track of what's going on here. So let's have a vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no? Okay, motion passes, and we can move on to item number 4 on the agenda, the treasurer's report.
All right. So we've got 4 full months to look over. So we've got lots of registers along with the finance report. You'll notice they get shorter and shorter as the months go by. We were not here to do much spending, which is kind of working in our favor right now. Overall, where we are for April, I would say is expected. It's a little bit lower in some ways than we would expect. Salaries and wages stayed the same. As you know, we kept all of our staff employed. We shut down the library on March 16th, and we sent everybody home with a pretty long list of things to do from home, not really thinking it would be this long. But they've been working hard on online programming. They've been doing a lot of professional development, all kinds of stuff. I feel like we thought we were going to have a lot more time on our hands. I think the management team for sure has been meeting constantly on Zoom to try to kind of plan things going out. But so salary and benefit information is all very stable, as we would expect in a normal year. Let's see. The real good news is in account 365 utilities. So we know the library uses a lot of power because we have a lot of lights and we're open a lot of hours and computers and whatnot. So you can see in April that we're down a little bit. In May, our bill, so this isn't on the registry yet, but this is just for point of interest, we were down to $3,095. And in June, we were at $3,300. So we are seeing quite a bit of savings in utilities right now, which is kind of a bright spot in what is otherwise a really weird experience. Collection spending is obviously way down as well. We are building carts, we are placing orders, but we are not having them shipped, so we are not getting invoices. We are not open to take packages, and while we did set up a UPS mailbox up at the UPS store on Fish Hatchery Road, we tend to get so many boxes of new books that we felt like it wasn't going to be any fun for anybody to have to drag that stuff over here. So we just asked them to hang on to it and not ship it until we alert them that we'll be open. So we will see a lot of makeup spending, I think, probably through the summer and fall is my hope. So we will do our best to catch up with that. Everything else looks pretty much the same. Down in the revenue part of the finance report, there is, if you look under interest income, we have made a correction since we published this, but the interest income there of $11,119.42 was actually not budgeted for. That was not something we expected. I saw it come into the revenue account and immediately contacted finance because I figured it was in the wrong account, but it really is ours. She said she usually adds it at the end of the year, but because of the COVID situation is trying to get budgets to be as accurate as they can. So she went ahead and added it for this part of the year. She thinks it'll be about $13,000 by the end of the year. Yeah, so that all looks pretty good as well. If you then turn to the registers, does anybody have questions on the report before we do go to the registers?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to unmute and now I have to go back to the register. There was an unexpected expense, where was it? Number 240,
Uh-huh.
repair and maintenance unexpected, $1,200 in
Yes.
April. I'm sorry, did you go over that already?
I did not. That was door repair.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah,
Okay.
the front doors that for a long time were not locking. We were having to manually lock that. They did replace the power supply.
So that got fixed. Great.
And they started working right in time for us to just lock them. It's kind of how it works out.
All right, thank you.
Yes, yep. Any other questions before we go on to the registers? All right, so I'm going to start in January. We've got a couple of really big payments, if you recall. So we paid our contract to South Central Library System. So that is for the library catalog, for all of our technology support, delivery services, continuing education. Basically everything we get from South Central in a year is in that whopper of a payment. We also paid our Biblioteca service contract. So that's the service that we get on our sorter, our security gates, and our 5 self-check machines. And just a lot of other annual contracts. So you'll notice that account 290 service contracts is almost completely spent. And that is typical because we tend to pay all of those up front at the beginning of the year. Let's see if there's anything else in here. We did also pay the digital media pool. So this is what we pay into Overdrive for the state contract so that people can use Libby, which is even more important now that you can't come get physical books. All right, I'm moving on to February. February was pretty boring. Not a lot of larger payments. Anything interesting in here? I don't think so. All right, March. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to talk about the, in account number 290, there's a charge there for Zubeen. And that is the software that we purchased to run the summer reading program so that we could do it online. So you can do summer reading now either on a website or through an app on your phone or other mobile device. The good news with that is that the state decided to purchase this for all libraries after we purchased it. So we should be getting a refund for that entire amount. I'll probably be calling them sometime soon about that. I reached out to them and they were trying to figure out the logistics of getting it all worked out. But that was a decision that we had already made when we went to PLA in Nashville in February. We had looked at that software pretty closely and we were thinking real hard about using it anyway. And then when everything shut down, we thought it was the perfect time to move to that format. We are still planning to do in-person coupons and prizes, when we're open and people come in and get them, but they can do the whole program online or on the app in the meantime. So we're very happy with that. And then April is just real short because we weren't really here. You'll see we had another unexpected door repair. No, that's where the big one turned in. We have had a couple of other door issues, of course, since we closed. I've been locked out of the building twice because the swipe readers on the outside are failing. It's me and doors. I apologize. It always happens to me. So we had to have them come out and just replace the swipe pads. Apparently it's happening at the park shelters as well. So I think the readers are just not great in external installations. Another one this is in yellow. This is in 387. So this is additional Overdrive collection. We decided that we would take $6,000 away from physical books and put it into the Overdrive program for South Central. So this is our Advantage account that just goes to South Central, so it gives us more copies. We just felt like we were not spending that collection money very fast otherwise, and that we really needed to beef up that collection. So I know Madison put in, I think the Madison Library Foundation was planning to put $100,000 into it, and some other libraries were putting in as well. So that was what we felt like we could easily move from a different account or from different physical books or AV. All right, that's all of the register.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I noticed back in, maybe it was January's or February's, we are using Hobby Lobby.
Yes.
Is there any reason we cannot use them since they are not supportive of the LGBT community? And
I would never tell someone they had to go there, but we have some staff that prefer to shop there. I believe that staff person is no longer on staff. I think that's for a person that has moved on. So I think we'll see that go down a little bit.
okay,
Kind of the same way about Walmart. I would never tell someone they have to shop there, but if they're there anyway, and that's what it's one less trip for them. I
Okay.
feel the same way.
okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep. The other thing about the overview I would just say is that we, remember, have not approved the post-audit 2019 budget because we haven't been here. Jenny and I actually just had a conversation the other day about, wait, I don't think we heard anything about the audit. So I don't think anything changed for us, but we will be coming back in July to do the post-audit approval, and then that will change the fund balance. That will go up by the amount that we didn't spend last year.
Hey, Wendy, quick question. Isn't there a mandated amount that we have to invest every year in the materials in the circulation, or is that, am I remembering that correctly?
There is a standard for how much we have to, the number of items we have to add to the collection here. Yes, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, I was wondering if the slowdown was going to have any impact, but sounds
No,
like
I think we're
good.
going to get hit really hard with deliveries probably for all of July and August, and probably the rest of the year. It's just going to be heavier. Yeah.
Got it.
All right, so we should approve the treasurer's report.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the treasurer's report, January through April.
I'll make a motion to approve the reports January through April.
And I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the treasurer reports? Okay, we'll have a vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the motion has passed. So we can move on now to agenda item number 5, any unfinished business that we need to discuss. I see none on the agenda, but anything we need to add?
Not for me.
And we'll move right along to item number 6, new business, and 6A, public emailed questions, comments.
None.
None. Okay. 6B, welcome new board member, Randy.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I think maybe a month ago, Wendy, you asked everyone to say some good words, and I really appreciate all of your good words and your introductions. I'm very excited to be here. Yesterday, Wendy and I had an orientation, about an hour and a half, somewhere in there, and she was very thorough. I appreciated all the links, lots of reading. But it was all laid out well, and we had a good meeting. So it went well. And thank you, Wendy, for that.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're thrilled you're here. Okay, we'll move right along to then item number 6C, curbside service.
We just wanted to give you guys kind of an update of how that's going. So we started curbside in late May. The governor, as you recall, put out a revised order that said we could do curbside, and we were completely surprised by that. So we had to scramble pretty fast to figure out how to do it. I will tell you, every library I know has done it a little bit differently. My goal and the manager's goal was really to design it so that it was contactless. So you'll hear some libraries are taking items out to people's cars. I really didn't want to put the staff in that position. I think we were all very nervous about coming back to the building at all at that point. So we designed it so that we have a 2-hour pickup window. We started with 3 days a week. We moved up to 4 days a week. So it's a 2-hour pickup window. We have staff that come in to pull the items the day before and to take phone calls. So either you can ask for 5 items that are available on our shelves, or you can ask to pick up existing holds. We started with 20 pickups a day just to start slow and see how it worked, get the logistics kind of worked out, and pretty quickly moved to 40 pickups a day. It's been very popular. I would say right now, I think we're booked out 3 days in advance. It is not popular when we're already booked. People often would like to come tomorrow. They would like to come in an hour, and we just can't accommodate that. So we are doing the best that we can. Most people are understanding about it, not all. We've had a fairly low number of people that don't bother to show up. Of those people, most of them will call and reschedule, but not all of them. We've got a two dings, and you don't get to schedule again, but we haven't had to use it, so that's good. I have been set up in the conference room since we started because I wanted to sort of observe how it was going and if people were social distancing. We've got 2 sandwich board signs out there. One of them says curbside pickup here, and the other says social distancing required. I've been surprised at how many people are coming wearing masks and being real careful to stay away from each other. Not everybody, but most people. So that's good news. We've only had one person take a bag that wasn't theirs, and they were very nice about bringing it back. And the person whose bag wasn't there was very nice about coming back to get it. So mostly it's been very smooth. I think the staff are doing a great job. As I said, I think people were nervous to come back to the building, but once they got here for a shift, where everybody seems pretty happy to have done it. We took volunteers for the first round. And then when we extended it to the 4 days, we asked that all staff do just 1 shift a week in the building, and that's worked out really well. Everybody's wearing masks. Everybody is doing their very best to stay 6 feet away from each other. We're very lucky in that our building is designed with ample staff space, so there's not very many places that staff can't be at their workstation and be 6 feet away from people. I think we've got 2 people in the youth services workroom that we're going to move temporarily because they can't, but they've never been here at the same time so far, so that's worked out. So yeah, overall, it's been going really well. Does anybody have questions? Has anybody done it and had a good experience?
I did it and had a very good experience. It
Excellent.
was very slick. It was easy, super easy.
Good.
I probably was one of those people who internally said, oh, I can't pick it up today or tomorrow. Oh, it's my hold is ready, but I survived. So thank you for doing that.
Yes. I'm happy it worked out. I will say I'm real surprised at how many people have not called to get their holds. We really thought that people would be kind of chomping at the bit, and we are so overloaded with holds right now. We're going to have to move where they live because we just don't have. I think we've got at least twice as many as normal right now. So I'm really hoping when we reopen that people will get in here and get their stuff. Yeah. Any questions? Any comments? All right.
Okay, if nothing more on curbside service, we can go to 6D, reopening.
All right, so I'm going to share some information that we are not really sharing out publicly. So if you're watching on Fact TV, you get early news. This is all subject to change. If things go crazy, numbers change in the county, we could change this all on a dime. The city had decided that they would be opening City Hall part-time hours starting on July 6th, which is later than a lot of other people are doing it, but I felt pretty good about that date, that we were giving staff, I guess, time to adjust to coming back, but also to kind of see what happens with the situation in the county and the state and the world. So our plan is to be open, not full-time hours, but 8 hours a day, 4 days a week. No, 6 days a week, sorry. Monday through Saturday. So we typically don't have Sunday hours in the summer anyway, and we will continue that. We decided today tentatively that we will be open Monday and Wednesday from 12 to 8 p.m. and then Tuesday, Thursday from 9 to 5, and then Friday, Saturday from 10 to 6. Staff will return to working their full hours at that time. I think that they are all sort of craving some normalcy and consistency in their schedules, and we have, with Curbside, not been able to do that. So people are working times that they maybe normally wouldn't. And we worked really hard to work with everybody, so it's not, nobody's having to deal with childcare issues or other jobs or anything like that. But it was really difficult to put the schedule together, even for Curbside, kind of tailoring it to everyone. So we felt like it was just easiest to go back to regular schedules. It will give staff some time in the building when we're not open, which we don't often get. I think they'll really appreciate that. I think it'll give us time to work on some projects in the building. And to do more professional development, we can certainly keep people busy. But I think it's a nice way to ease into working with the public again. I think everybody, it's fair to say everybody on staff is nervous about having the public in here, who's going to wear a mask, who's not, who's going to stand too close, who's not. I think it's a lot like going to the grocery store. You hope everybody behaves themselves. You can't guarantee that they're going to. I think we're going to get a fair number of people that just want to tell us that we should have been open the whole time and that this is fake, and that we're panicking and why are we wearing masks? And I think we're all very research oriented at the library. And I think we've all read more than probably we want to about this, and nobody's taking their mask off, I'm pretty sure, on our side. So I also think we're all real anxious. Like, this is a weird situation. We almost always encourage people to come here often and stay and go to programs and hang out. And now we're just not going to be in that situation. So we did a walkthrough last week of the building, and have decided, and I think I said this in the email that I sent you last week, that we're going to be closing off a number of rooms. We're going to be moving a lot of the furniture so that you can't stay and lounge. Newspapers and magazines. Newspapers just won't be available. Magazines will be available for checkout, but not for browsing. You can access all of our collections to take home, but not to sit and read in the building. We'll be doing take-home crafts, but not in-person programs for kids. We'll still be doing online programming, so that's still an option. Holds pickup, we'll do computer sessions for 1 hour a day and Wi-Fi sessions for 1 hour a day. So we're trying to be accessible to people that are looking for jobs or trying to fill out unemployment or any of that kind that may not have either a computer or internet access at home. So we're going to try to be accommodating there, but really, I think the plan is to put signs up to keep your visit to 30 minutes or less, and then computers would be the exception where you could have an hour. So that's the current plan. We're working on a lot of signage. We're working on a lot of sort of guidance for the staff about how to deal with certain situations. We will definitely be putting out guidelines for patrons as well, encouraging them to wear masks and to social distance. So that's the current plan. Things are changing all the time, so I can't promise it's going to stay exactly the same between now and July 6th, but that's what we're looking at. Does anybody have questions or suggestions or concerns? Yeah, Ann. Oh, you're muted. And your microphone's not on.
I was hitting my space bar, but it wasn't having any effect on it. So has the plexiglass already been installed in front of the workstations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, Kevin did that probably a month and a half ago. It was one of the first things that we did. So they've got, most of them are solid. They each have, an area on one side that we can pass either library cards or books through. Yeah. What other questions does anybody have? I know this is kind of an odd conversation to be having. All right, well, I will continue to keep you updated with emails as things change. Thank you for your support through this whole thing. I appreciate that you've all been so supportive as we've been making, when we closed down, I tell you, we were making a new plan every 2 days, and it was crazy and busy, and I appreciate that you were all very supportive without having to do emergency meetings and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, if nothing more on new business, we'll move on to item number 7, the president report. Just a couple of comments for the group. First, Wendy, I just want to say, I think the way you've been managing through this period has been really, really great. From the beginning, making a point to keep staff employed and have that be kind of number one, and then putting staff health and safety as the top priority, I think is the absolute right move. I really appreciated how you got creative on how to keep people working and engaged, though, even though we had all moved to this remote mode and being closed down, which I know for you and the team feels really weird to have had the building completely closed down. But you continue to push for progress, which I think was really, really smart. And you're clearly been working on thoughtful ways to continue to provide services to the community, whether it's the curbside pickup and the reopening plan that you just outlined. So thank you for all that work. And it continues to change daily. And so I know it's a lot of planning and then replanning and then planning again. And then probably changing the plans when the door doesn't open. So thank you for that. And then to the board members, thanks for staying connected and flexible during this time. I think Wendy and I talked back in March about, hey, why can't we just do a virtual meeting? And at the time, it wasn't set up to be able to do that, but the city and the library figured that out. So now we're able to meet at least through this media today. So I appreciate working through that and this group being really flexible. Last comment, at some point it's already June, so we'll be moving into the second half of the year pretty soon with July, which means things like review time comes up for Wendy. So start to think about that process that we go through every year. One of the things that I sent a note to the group about during our COVID break was this whole trustee update, and taking some of these short takes for trustees. If you had a chance to take a look, great. If not, I would encourage you to take a look at those. They're pretty short and they're pretty interesting. And there is one about director reviews, which I thought was pretty helpful, and something that everybody should probably make the 10 or 12 minutes or whatever it is to listen to and watch prior to going through that process this year. So that concludes what I wanted to say related to item number 7 on the agenda, unless there are any questions or other comments from the group. Hearing none, then we'll move on to item number 8, library director report.
So I'm just going to piggyback on what one of the things you said, Stephen, is that we were able to keep the staff employed. I appreciate everybody's support on that, including the cities. We are very close to some libraries that did not have that fortune. So I know that Verona had to stop paying their part-time staff the day that they closed. And I know that Oregon had to do some furloughs after, I think, the first month. And just to note, so there are some libraries that are already opening to do express services, like we're planning to do in July. And I would note that most of those libraries, I think, were real anxious to come back to that so that they could pay their staff. We're very fortunate to be in a situation where we don't have to rush back into things just to keep staff paid. But I think it's hard to share that with the public. So we're getting a lot of, why aren't you doing what Verona's doing? Why aren't you doing what so-and-so is doing? And we're just kind of sitting tight with that because we have to make the best decisions that for our staff. And we're very lucky to be able to do what we're doing. I don't think it's lost on anybody on staff that they are still employed. There's so many people that are not that lucky right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a couple other things I wanted to talk about. I have been going through the expected revenue for the rest of the year. I think the economic downturn is kind of on everybody's mind. So I immediately went to are we going to be able to pay our bills this year? I think we're in great shape for this year. That $11,000 that we didn't expect coming in does not hurt. Saving money on power bills does not hurt. But I don't think we're expecting any big changes. We've already gotten the tax levy deposit. We've already gotten payment from Dane County. We've already gotten adjacent county payments. I think we'll be down in a couple of areas. I think we'll be down in donations. I think we'll be down in copy fees, that kind of thing, but nothing super major. I am working with the Friends of the Library. They are not having book sales, I think, for the rest of the year. So their income is going to be down. So I'm just working with them about pushing off some of the expected donations that we had discussed for this year. So one of the things we were going to do was a virtual reality kit that people could wear around the library, and that's not a good idea right now. So that is real easy to push off to another year. So they're discussing at their board meeting what they're comfortable giving. So their typical annual giving is $7,500, and we put that towards professional development and summer reading. So I think maybe we'll do that or part of that, maybe not all of it, but I think that might be it for the year. So I think our miscellaneous revenue will be down but I don't think it's going to be to a point that we can't handle. I think we'll be in good shape. I have just gotten information today about budgeting for 2021 from Misty in the finance department. Her advice is that we budget as if COVID is not a thing. We budget as if it's going to be normal. And then I am going to, of course, on my end, have all sorts of options about if we need to. I would expect that we want to keep the budget at least flat, if not, if we don't have to go down a little bit. I think that nobody on the council is going to want to see a big increase in taxes. People just can't handle it right now. So that is going to be sort of my plan, is to stay flat or be prepared to make some cuts if we have to. I think there's some places we can do that won't be terribly painful. I should mention that we did, the vacancy that we currently had when we shut down was the outreach librarian. So the outreach librarian was transferred over to the youth services librarian position, which actually is real fortunate for us because she's doing a lot of online programming and she's great at it. And she'll be great in the building. And I feel like outreach is not something we really want to be doing right now. So that kind of worked out well for us. It's a savings for us as well, pretty significant. I don't know if I feel like we're gonna wanna fill that this year or not. That's something that I'm just kind of sitting with to see how things go. In some ways, I think it's one of the most important positions we have, but in some ways I'd be real afraid to send that person out into the public right now. So that's gonna be a savings for us as well. So 2021 budget project. Okay, there's a couple of projects that I want to move forward with because it doesn't look like we're going to have revenue issues this year. I do want to go ahead and do the planned PC replacement. We are going to pull a couple of PCs that we're just not going to have anymore. So we're looking on our end about how we can rearrange the replacement schedule to reflect that. We will be taking half of the computers temporarily out of the technology center when we reopen so that people are socially distanced. I'll be very interested to see if that gives us enough computers. You know, we've had computers that have not been heavily used for a long time that I have been hanging on to and replacing because I feel like if we ever get bus service to this building, that we'll need them. That seems to be real far off on the horizon. And so I'll be interested when we go from 16 to 8, if maybe that's just where we want to stay. So we are kind of rearranging things, so that's a possibility going forward. But I do want to go ahead and replace most of the ones that are being replaced this year are staff computers, so I don't think it's a good time to not do that. The other project I want to move forward on is the replacement of the RFID stations. So at each of our service points, but also in the back room, anywhere that we process materials, we have a little flat pad that reads the RFID tags in all of the books. And we've had them for 9 years. The library is going to be 9 years old on the 29th, by the way. You should all have a little party. Big birthday. But we've had those for 9 years, and I think their expected life is probably 6 or 7. They're very slow. They are not great. The reason that we've had them for so long is that for a long time, we only had the option to replace them with Biblioteca brand items, and they are somewhere in the range of $2,300 a piece to replace, which just seemed, I think with software would cost us about $30,000. The great news is that we have a new vendor in town that has been approved by South Central, and we can get the pads from them for $560. Yay! So huge savings. It's still going to cost us probably $8,000 to $9,000 between installation and the actual hardware themselves. South Central will help us get them hooked up. They should be much, much faster than what we're using. It wasn't until I was actually checking something out at a different library that had newer pads that I was like, oh, we spend a lot of time standing here waiting for things to happen at all of our service points and in the back room. So I think it'll make us much more efficient. And I think that if we don't do it soon, they're just going to die a slow death. So that's something I got a quote from them. I'm working with South Central to make sure that everything, we are putting together pieces from different vendors. So we have the Biblioteca self-checks and the sorter. Part of the reason I'm doing this now is that 2 other libraries have now already done this little mashup of equipment and it's worked fine. So I think it's a good time to move forward with it. It is not money that we had budgeted for, but it is money that we have to spend. So I think it's a good time to do it, but I would like your support in moving forward. Does that sound like an okay plan?
All sounds good. Makes sense.
Okay, excellent. The other good news I have is that South Central has applied for an LSTA grant to be used for improving access sort of in light of the COVID experience. And one of the projects that you can put it towards is an external access point for Wi-Fi. And this is something we were talking real seriously about doing anyway, finding our own funds to do this. I think we would put it out outside the front doors, by the parking lot. Right now you can get Wi-Fi just in that first row of parking and mostly in the handicap spaces, which is not great. We have noticed during curbside, we were originally doing curbside up on that sidewalk by the parking lot. And we noticed that people were like wedging their cars in between the orange cones while we were trying to have people pick up books because it's the only place they can get Wi-Fi. So I think if we put an external access point out that door, we could extend it probably across our entire lot and maybe over into the city hall lot a little bit. The cost I think is somewhere around $2,000 for the actual hardware, and then and we can get $1,000 from South Central as part of that grant. So it pays for about half of the access point. My concern is that cabling is going to be expensive because we're going through the exterior wall of the building. So we'll have to look into that and see if it's reasonable or not. But that's something that I would like to look into moving forward. I hate to leave grant money on the table for something that we feel like we need anyway. But I just wanted to run that by all of you as well.
Wendy, what is did you call it LSAT?
LSTA, it's Library Services and Technology.
Okay.
It's through IMLS. It's part of IMLS, which is the Institute of Museum and Library Services. So that's a federal program.
Okay.
So we're able, usually as systems, to apply for grant money from them when they have it.
Good, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go forward and look into the pricing for that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the board calendar, because it's all a big mess because we missed a bunch of meetings. I have gone through and looked at what we missed and what we need to make up. My suggestion is going to be that we take a year off. I know we never do this, but I'm going to suggest we take a year off from approving policies, from updating policies, and get back to that in 2021. We have been very good about doing that every year, so I feel like we're not in a bad place at all. If there's anything that comes up that needs to be changed, I will absolutely bring it to you. I'm thinking about the code of conduct if we have any issues with COVID people behavior, that kind of thing that I think need to be addressed in the policy. I will absolutely bring that to you, but I'm going to suggest that we put off the rest of them for the year. Is that all right with everyone? Okay. The other thing that we missed was a nominating committee. So we currently do not have a vice president on the board. And Stephen has not agreed to be the president again, although I was about to send him an email to see if he would. And Ben as the treasurer, I felt like it might be good to keep some continuity through the year since it's a strange one. But we will need to add a vice president. So we'll need to do a nominating committee. I think we will ask for that to be put together at the July meeting. So that's a couple of months late, but I think we can live with it, and then hope to put someone in the position in August. That sound like a good plan? Okay.
That does. How does that work process wise? What do we need to do either at next meeting or between now and next meeting to kind of get that in place?
Okay, so I think at that meeting we will want to decide who the 3 people are going to be on the nominating committee. Mm-hmm. So it might be worth sending an email to everyone to see who's willing to be on that.
Yep.
And then between July and August, they'll want to talk someone into being the vice president. Pretty easy gig, as I understand it. And then the last thing I had on my list was the personnel committee. So that's for my review. That typically the board will go into closed session in August. So information would have been collected by the August meeting. You have the August closed session to discuss what's going on the final review. If that timeline still works, we can still do that. If you guys would like to push that back, we could do that as well. My anniversary is in October, but I don't know that that means we have to, that's typically what we try to get it done by, but I feel like this year is all bets are off for anything being normal. So I will leave that up to you to decide if you want to do that on schedule or if we want to push that back.
Has the city come out with any guidance on review timing or otherwise this year?
No, and I'll say I spent a lot of time when I was first working from home doing reviews, so we're trying to keep everything kind of on schedule and on track.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different when you're working with 7 people. And then everything else, I think everything else I think we can do on schedule. You know, budget will be ramping up here, but it's not quite time to do that. We did have CIP meetings, but we didn't add anything new for the library, so we didn't have to approve anything. We have just our normal CIPs to replace the library van, to replace the sorter. That's the closest one we have coming up in 2023. The good news there is that the vendor that we're going to buy our RFID stations from also makes sorters, and they're fantastic, and they're much cheaper than what we currently own. And then the self-check replacement. Also good news there, South Central has just put a committee together to look at low-cost self-check options. So, you know, we bought our machines for $9,000 a piece, and they're fancy, and we love them. But you could build a self-check out of a CPU and a monitor and a scanner and an RFID pad for probably less than $1,000. I don't know, somewhere around there. So that may be an option going forward as well. So it may be that someday we don't even need a CIP for that. We'll see. I mean, I want to wait and see. I'd like to see some other libraries put that together and see how it works before we commit to it. But those are the CIPs that went to the city council. And I think that's all I have for my library director report.
Hey, Wendy, back to the review timing. My desire would be to keep it on schedule and have that targeted for August.
Okay.
Any reason that we can't do something maybe a little bit more automated this year in terms of the actual collection of feedback from the board members? I know we have the Word document, and you know, the past couple of years we've been sending that out and then kind of combining it. I'd like to propose we, you know, get that into a survey tool that can go just to the board members to kind of just pull that. Basically, same questions, same scoring, place to put commentary, but then we can do it all electronically one time, get the information back, and in theory, it should all kind of be summarized for us to then be able to have a discussion in August.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason not to do it that way. That makes a lot of sense. I think it would make it a lot easier for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that one and try to come up with something that we can use, and we can talk about it in July.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that takes us back to the agenda, and I think we kind of hit a lot of this. Technically, we're now to item 9, committee reports. Talked about a lot of this stuff already, Wendy, but maybe 9A, strategic planning, anything there?
The only thing I would mention under strategic planning is that one of the work groups that's in place right now is looking at merchandising furniture. And my immediate response had been, with COVID, that we can worry about that next year or the year after. But then the hold situation got out of control, and we are looking at moving holds. I think holds are going to have to take up twice the room that they're taking now. So we're looking at taking all of the new books off of that front range of shelving right when you walk in past the circulation desk. And our idea had been most recently to buy some lower, I guess, nicer shelving, not nicer, but shelving that would sit right in front of that. So right now we have display tables and benches and display tables. And our thought was to do some lower shelving in there that we could put new books on, Lucky Day books on, just kind of a better merchandising situation so it catches your eye better. And now I feel like that's a great plan and we should move forward with it immediately because we need the space so badly. I think the The interim is going to be probably not having new books for people to browse because we just don't have the space for them. I think we'll keep a small collection of them on a display table, but we're really trying to clear out that area for social distancing when you're getting your holds. But I think that is a project that I want to move forward so that we can kind of solve this problem longer term. We've been talking, Phil and I have been talking about needing more room for holds for probably 9 months. And not having a real good solution of, we didn't want to take that front row of shelving. But if you've ever come to get holds and you know, like there's not a lot of room between the stacks and people are not real great about not being in your space. And now even more, I don't want people in my space. It will only solve it for half the alphabet and I'm not in that half. So that makes me a little disappointed. I asked if we could start with Z on the front and wrap around, but I was told no. But I think we'll move forward with, and we haven't found furniture that we're interested in. We do have $10,000 budgeted from fund balance to finance that. So I think that project will keep moving forward. And I think I made a curbside pickup work group one day on Zoom with a bunch of people that were doing a ton of work to try to figure out how to do this. So I think we'll probably make some work groups to reflect the work that we've been doing while we're closed. That's all I have for strategic planning.
How about B facilities?
The doors keep breaking on me, but that's it.
And C, anything else on personnel?
We got 2 resignations today, so I'm a little sad. One person got a full-time job at the Historical Society. I'm so excited for her, but I'm sad to lose her. And our evening custodian, who has been working 12 hours a day for years, has decided not to do that anymore. And I just found out like 5 minutes before the meeting started. So I'm sad about that. But also happy for him because working 12 hours a day is hard. So we also had, when we closed, so we have the outreach position. I'm not posting that one until we decide that it's the right thing to do. But we did have 2 shelver vacancies when we closed. And I think we're going to need to post probably all 3 of those positions soon, so that we're interviewing pretty soon after we reopen. Shelvers right now, we've got so we're quarantining all the items that come back from patrons in the meeting room for 3 days, and we're quarantining our delivery for 3 days, and it is an enormous amount of work to not be able to do the work that you have in front of you, but to do the work from 3 days ago. And we're open weird days right now. So it's a real weird, we're real busy right now, and then we're not, and then we are, and then we're not. So I think we're going to need to fill the shelver positions just to be able to keep up. I think once we are taking returns full time, it's going to get crazy around here. Yes, Randy.
So when materials return, everything sits for 3 days in quarantine?
Yes.
And then it's processed back to the shelf?
Yes.
Oh,
So
it's great to hear. I just thought, wow, that.
It's the right thing to do, and it's logistically a nightmare. It's so what we had to do, those of you that are familiar with the sorter setup in the back room, we had to disconnect the sorter and shove it into the corner, because we want to use the sorter for things that have come out of quarantine, but we don't want to take returns into the sorter because then the sorter is dirty. And then you have to wait 3 days to use it until it's clean. We had so many conversations about how to do this well, and I think we came to the best conclusion. So Kevin built this, I call it a book slide. So it's because the book drop comes in pretty high, so it's an angle, and it goes into, we stole all the bins from the sorter and replaced them with like trash cans, any receptacle that we own. And Kevin has 2 really big Rubbermaid on wheels trash cans, and we scrubbed those out and lined them, and we're using those for 2 bins on each side of the sorter. So we have the sorter bins are on wheels and they're depressible. So we're using that under the book slide, and we fill 2 of those a day, and then we have to close the book drop again. So we're only open very limited hours. I think when we're open, the book drop is open. When we reopen, we're just going to have to reopen it for good, but we can't hook the sorter up. It's a very complicated process that has taken a whole lot of more time than anybody would like to put into it. I did just place an order today. I should tell you this. We just ordered 6 poly carts on wheels from Uline. They're coming on a semi truck tomorrow, so that we can, because when we're open, we're just not going to have enough bins. And trash cans are not the answer. I don't think they might be. It depends on how things go. But we're trying to, we had originally thought that maybe we would unload the book drop onto tables and then let it sit for 3 days. But I really would like staff to not have to touch stuff until it's been quarantined.
Agreed.
We could do it if we had to. We would wear gloves. We would wash our hands. We could do it, but I would really rather not. So yeah, that's what's happening with the book drop. I started personnel for that. I don't know how I got off. Anyway.
Okay, if nothing more on committee reports, we'll move to item 10, announcements. Next board meeting in a month, Wednesday, July 15th. I imagine it'll be right here over Zoom again. So we'll look for that information between now and then. And then we will need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you all very much and have a great month.